My name is Steve Wearsome. I'm an English teacher at Glenbard West High School, and I'm also the sponsor for the Historic Society. Today with us, we have an entire class of creative writing students. I'm just going to spin it so you can see the class. And
happy to see you.
And then we also have a special guest, and that is your grandson, John, who is
Hi, John.
He's ditching class
to
be with us today, but it's all good. How exciting it was that you were the first female student council president.
Yes.
And as a historian, anytime I hear the word first, it really pulls me in. So I went into the 1955 yearbook, and I actually found your picture,
yes,
as well as the article that said that. And I wanted to meet you, but also in this class is Jane. Her name is Jane Pieper, and she is our student council president, also obviously a girl. And I thought it'd be neat to have her start and interview you. And then we have a bunch of questions, and kids will kind of come in and out of this chair and just speak with you one-on-one, but we're watching on a big screen, so everyone can see the interview. Okay, so first of all, how would you like the students to address you? Would you like to be Mrs. Burt or Dini? What are you comfortable with?
Dini would be, I'd be very comfortable with Dini. My grandchildren call me Dini. It's just a nickname that I got in high school. In high school, I thought it would change the spelling. It was D-I-N-I-E. And I decided that dropping the E would be so much more glamorous. Of course, I didn't realize the English teachers would be rolling over in their grave, knowing that by eliminating the E, I was changing the actual sound of it. Became Dini instead of Dini. But I didn't realize that at the time. But that's okay. I was just in high school.
What was, you mentioned your English teachers. Was there any English teacher that stood out to you?
Yes, Eleanor Dowling.
Eleanor Dowling. Okay, I know that name well. Some teachers' names come up a lot. What did she do that was so memorable?
She was in charge of the student council.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Plus teaching English. So I had classes with her plus the student council connection.
Okay, well, here we go. Jane's going to come up and have a little one-on-one, and then when she's done, we have other students who will come in. So we'll see if we can get this rolling for about 30 minutes. If it goes longer, we'll find a good place to stop so classes can switch. And then if it goes short, then we'll just say thank you and goodbye. Okay.
Okay. Sounds wonderful.
Here's Jane.
Thank you.
Hi, Dini. It's so nice to meet you.
Happy to meet you, Jane. And congratulations on your job as student council president.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have there been many female student councils since you've been there, or that you know of?
Honestly, when I first got the position, that was the first question that a lot of people asked me. They asked me if there's been a lot in the past or when the last one was. And honestly, I wasn't so sure about it, but I went back combing through old yearbooks, and I found that there was a recent one, Meg, but that was, I think, 5 years ago, I want to say. But then in between then there was a large gap. But when Mr. Wearsome had told me that he had found you the first, I was so excited and hoping to meet you. And so it's such a cool opportunity that I get to meet you and talk to you.
Yes, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. And I found it funny how you brought up how your English teacher had such a big impact on you. And she was also the sponsor for student council. The current sponsor for our executive board student council is actually a social studies teacher. And I have found that I've really bonded with her throughout the years. And she's definitely one of my favorite teachers here at West as well.
Oh, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Yeah.
Totally.
The thing about being the first female president of the student council, Jane, is that in the 50s, feminism really hadn't started. So it was simply a matter of, we were running for an election and someone said, hey, Dini, why don't you run? And I said, well, sure, why not? And as with any election, whoever wins is the victor. And so people were thinking it was something very unusual. Well, it was unusual as I was the first, but there was no feminism. Feminism came into playing really in the 60s and 70s. So there was no animosity because I was a female. It was just that I became the first, and it was kind of a fluke, but nothing to do with feminism.
Did you ever feel like when you were running or after you had been giving the position that there were some like backlash or questioning about your position as a woman?
No, that's what I meant by the feminism. I don't think anyone, I think they realized it was a milestone, but I don't think they thought it was anything to do with, in the 50s, the males were dominant, and women did what the males told them to do. And so it was just, yeah, I won the election. And that was really the bottom line, was that I had won the election and I happened to be a female. Now, maybe 10 years later, it would have been a much bigger deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Were you a part of student council? Because I know now student council works that you can be on freshman, sophomore, junior boards. And then eventually, if you would like, you can run to be a part of the executive board, which have specific positions. I'm not sure if it existed that way when you were in
No,
high school.
it didn't. I was on the council as a undergrad student, but no, you didn't. It wasn't a precursor to being president of the student council.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I've just
Yeah.
been so infatuated with just looking at different old traditions that used to exist. Both of my aunt and uncle, they were Glenbard West graduates, and I like combing through their old yearbooks and seeing like the different dances that used to exist or traditions. And even today, honestly, I wish I could have dressed more to impress. I kind of forgot about this, but I'm actually in pajamas because it's our spirit week for before winter break. But I mean, what were some of the traditions that you kind of head up or even created?
Well, first of all, we always had to wear skirts to school. We couldn't, never would we wear shorts. That would be unheard of. And then on Fridays, as many people in your families probably have noticed that on Fridays in the past 10 years or so, there's a relaxed wearing a bit of apparel for your fathers or people going to work, that they can wear jeans and things like that to work. Well, in Glenbard at that time, we could wear jeans to school on Fridays, and they better be Levi's, because Levi's were the thing you had to wear. So it's just like you have certain, Air Jordans or whatever that everyone has to have, so to speak. But that Levi's were the big jeans for women at that time, and for guys too.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah. So I think some other classmates are going to ask you some questions I have for you, but it was so lovely to meet you. And you guys
Nice to meet you, Jim.
right at the end.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, Donnie. I'm Mo.
Hi, Mo. Happy to meet you.
No, you too. It's really interesting how you were the first student president that was a female. It's really that's really cool.
Thank you. It was cool at the time.
Yeah, I have some questions for you, about
Okay.
the
Okay.
time, because obviously, over time, what we do now is nowhere near how teenagers were back in the day. So what
Well, there's a lot of similarities too.
really?
Teenagers have always been kind of a thorn in the parents' sides at times, because you're at a point in your life where you're going into adulthood but haven't quite arrived. So I call it the cutting the apron strings. And sometimes we don't always use the best choice to cut those apron strings.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Yeah. So what did you like do for fun when you were in high school?
Well, one of the big things we did, Mo, was go ice skating. The Lake Ellen froze over solidly. I mean, to the point where they actually had trucks go on the lake and
Really?
shave off the top of to make the ice smooth. And we would bring our skates to school. The minute the school was over, we'd all go down to Lake Ellen and put on our skates and skate until dinner time came, which was either the 6 o'clock whistle blew or the street lights came on, and then you had to hike for home.
That's really cool.
We also went to the Glen Theater, which is still there.
Yeah, dude. That's also a question I was about to ask. Did people actually go there? Because
Oh, absolutely. That was the big thing. That was, that was our entertainment. We didn't have, we never went into the city or to other towns. Well, maybe, yeah, we'd go to Wheaton, go to the show in Wheaton a couple times, but basically we'd go to the Glen Theater. That was our fun. We,
really cool.
yeah.
What did you? So you went to the theater. What else did you go to eat at?
Well, there was a pizza place called Don and Angie's. It was on the corner of Park Boulevard and Roosevelt Road, where I think there's a Shell station, gas station there now.
Uh-huh.
And that used to be Don and Angie's, a pizza place. And we loved to go there. We also went to a place called Prince Castle, which is like the White Castle of today. I don't know there's any more White Castles around, but that was a thing. Let's see what else. After school, we'd go up to Webb's drugstore and hang out. And Webb's is, know where Blackberries is, on the corner of Main and Hillside,
Uh-huh.
where there's a big building going in there now,
Yeah.
apartment building. Anyway, on that corner was a drugstore called Webb's, and we'd go out there and hang out, and they had soda fountains, and you could get cherry cokes and stuff like that. It was fun.
That's really fun. I wish I
Yeah.
could have tried them.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah. Last question before I go. How good was the football team? Was it still good back then?
No, it wasn't.
Really?
You guys have certainly captured the best years for the football team. It was middle of the road. It was middle of the road. The fun thing that we did was our biggest rivalry was Wheaton. Now, Wheaton was never in our conference, but it was always the first game of the season. And that was just the biggest excitement that we could possibly have to start the school year. And if we were hosting it, then Wheaton would come over and paint stones, or, do something destructive, or quotes, kind of destructive. And then after they did that, then of course after the game, then they'd have to send a representative over to clean up the damage. So yeah, they had to pay for their consequence.
Yeah, we still don't like Wheaton.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh,
Wheaton's on the bad side of town. We're over there.
okay. Okay, very good. So what's your biggest competition in football now?
Biggest competition in our conference is Hinsdale.
Okay, and Hinsdale's always been a thorn in Glenbard's side.
Yeah, we don't like Hinsdale at all.
Yeah, okay.
But we beat them though. Most.
Hey, you have quite a basketball team this year too.
Yeah, they're very good this year. It's really
Wow.
good.
Yeah.
Hopefully we win state.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
You should
How
play that game.
often do they play? How often does the basketball team play?
They play like 4 or 5 games a week. Something like that. 3-4 games a week.
Wow.
Yeah, you should come to a game soon.
Well, I will. I'll be home. I'll be in Glen Ellen for a couple of weeks in December, so you probably won't be any games at that time.
we'll get you front row of the student section. Just let us know.
Oh, okay, that'd be worth it. That'd be worth
Yeah,
flying
it'll
over.
be really fun. All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
I really
Mo.
appreciate it. Hope you have a good day.
Hello, Dini. My name's Grayson. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Grayson. Happy to meet you.
And so I know Mo started to get into I know he started to get into sports, and so sports are a really big part of culture here at West nowadays. And my question is, were sports anything as close to as big as they are now back when you were a student here?
They were, but everything in my era was much more diminished than what you're experiencing now. The football teams we just loved going to the football teams, and then afterwards we'd go down to the boathouse and would have socials after down there, and that was always a big fun thing to do. And I'll tell you a cute little story about those games. My family lived on Geneva Road and Bloomingdale Road, where the Bloomingdale Road hits Geneva, and if you went across, that was my house. So that was out of town, but in town. And so we had a second car. Most people at that time did not have second cars. And so, but when their second car was a Crosley. Now, who has ever heard of a Crosley? But it was a kind of a between a Mini Cooper and, oops, I just lost you because they touched my. Sorry about this. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, it was the Crosley was a cross between a Mini Cooper and probably a smart car, very small little car, and it was a station wagon. So at every Friday night or every night that there would be a game, I'd drive my little car to the boathouse and we'd go in and have a social. When I came out of the social, my car was always moved. And had a reunion not too long ago. I stood up to my class and I said, okay, someone every game moved my car, maybe a half a block, maybe a block, but it was always there, but it was always moved. And I said to the guys at this reunion, okay, you have to fess up now. We've been out of school for 25, 30 years. You tell me who moved my car. Well, it was always the football players, because they came in late because they had to clean up after the game. And so they'd see my little car and they'd say, okay, let's move this. And they'd move it half a block down the way. So anyway, but as I recall, yes, sports were we didn't have a whole lot of other things going. So sports were very big. We didn't have the accomplishments that you have had, which, living right in town, I feel that enthusiasm, that spark, that ownership of being so proud of your football and other teams that you've had, volleyball, and now you're looking at basketball. So yeah, I would say it was important. It's just on things that were on a different scale than what you're going through now.
Awesome. And
So are
so,
you on a team?
am I?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the lacrosse team.
Oh, nice. And lacrosse was something we never had. And that's relatively new at Glenbard, as I recall. Was about 10 years?
Yeah, I think within the last 10, 15 years, it's become much more of a thing.
I would love to see a lacrosse game. When did they practice, or when did they have their teams?
The season is from March to usually beginning of June, just that
Oh.
Second semester time period.
Oh, now is that the normal season, or is that because of COVID?
That's the normal season.
Okay. All right, that'd be fun. I'd love to go to one of those games. Where do you practice? Where do you play? In front of the school in that field?
Yeah.
Nice. I'd love to see that.
Well, you're always welcome. And
Thank you
so
very much.
we have a few more people asking questions, so I'm going to pass it on. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Audrey.
Hi,
And
Audrey.
the question I have for you is, I know we touched on your presidency a bit in the beginning, but I think what really, stands out to me is what made you or pushed you to run with, being the first female who was the president.
Thanks, Audrey. I don't think there was any push. I think it was someone saying, "Hey, Dini, do you want to run for student council president?" Sure. And so I did. And there was campaigns, and they had decorations and things that they did for campaigning and stuff. And as I said, it was any election, I happened to win. But it wasn't it probably wasn't until the end of that year that it really sank into me that this was a big deal. I was the first president. But as I say, it wasn't anything like what would have occurred, like Hillary Clinton running for president of the United States. I mean, there was definite feeling between females and males, and the first woman that did not exist at the time that I was running, of course, on a much smaller scale, but it just, that air just didn't pervade at that time. So
Yeah, for sure. Also, like, for that, were like women in sports, was that a thing? Oh, look who's joined us.
well, know something? We didn't have the sports that you guys have.
Something I'm as myself, I'm an athlete. I know a lot of females are also. It's like a very normal thing now. So I was just wondering if that was even a thought of.
Oh, I think we would have loved it so much because we're just like you guys, but they didn't have the sports for females. We had field hockey, which would play after school, and big deal. There was some tennis, but by and large, we really didn't have the sports that you guys have. And I think you're so fortunate to live in this era and be able to participate. What sports are you in, Audrey?
I run track and cross country. So
Oh, nice.
runner, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, my granddaughter did cross country, Madeline Burt, John's older sister. And that was fun. I loved going to those meets.
Yeah, they're fun, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to pass it on to a familiar face, but it's very nice talking with you.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you, Audrey.
Hey, Dini.
There he is. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's up?
Nothing much. What were like different traditions that you would do on like homecoming?
You know what, John? We had pep rallies. We had the bonfires. But everything was similar to what you have now, but they weren't of the grand scale because things were just more low key then. But homecoming was just as big today as it is that for you guys as it was back then. I think the one thing that you have that I particularly like is the fact that you all go to the dances with, whether or not as a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you all go and participate and have fun, whether it be, one person going with one person. I just love that idea of the camaraderie of everyone doing things. And
Why? What was it like when? What were dances like for you?
Well, you pretty much went with a boy or who was your boyfriend, and if it was really your boyfriend and you were going to study with him, he gave you his class ring and then you wore it around your neck. And that was kind of like, I'm taken or he's taken. So but basically you went with a date. You didn't have the groupings of things that you do now. Yeah, and I know that other schools do the same thing, which I think is great.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna pass it off to Mr. Wearsome. It was great seeing you, Danny.
Good to see you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What an honor it's been to take our class time and visit with you. I'm just gonna go ahead and collapse our conversation. One thing that one of our students wanted to
If
know
I-
is,
If I
yeah, go
may
ahead.
interject one thing, because I think the students might enjoy this. A classmate of mine his name was John Schmale. And many of you, I'm sure the students are aware of Schmale Road, which is a continuation of Main Street in Geneva Road and Main Street, and it continues north. And John was in my class, and he lived on a farm out there, and that name happened to come from the late 1800s when there was a wagon trail that went by his farm and his family's farms. And from that day on, the late 1800s, that we still have the name Schmale Road. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to pass on. And another thing about John, we didn't have any school shootings back then. As there we have so many places in the country. But John had a sister, Nina, who was a nurse, and there was a community college in Chicago, and a mass murderer by the name of Richard Speck came in and killed 8 nurses, and John's sister was one of them. But so as far as school shootings, we didn't have anything like that, but that came pretty close to what we're experiencing today.
I forgot that you went to school with in the same class with John. I was able to do an interview with him just a few weeks ago. We talked about his sister, and one thing that I'd like to do here, because people know Richard Speck, but they don't know about his sister, and I thought that's kind of the opposite of what it should be. So I'd like to have like a little Nina Schmale memorial somewhere in the school that explains who she is, because then what John did was he pivoted off of her sacrifice, her death, and created a Nina Schmale scholarship at Wheaton College. And through that, he sent many girls off to nursing school kind of in her memory. And I think that's more powerful, I think. A nice way to remember his sister.
Yes, yeah. Very nice.
One question that one student wanted to ask was communication with the other students. I think I know how you're going to answer this, but here's what we do. We have iPads and phones and messages and Facebook groups and TikToks and all sorts of things, and we can send stuff out in a email blasts, but none of that was available. So how would you publicize school events and dances and things like that? Posters, that's it?
Yep, posters, bulletin boards, notes. We had telephones, of course, but back then the telephones are nothing like what we had now. We actually had what's called party lines. And if your number was, say, 1426R, R denoted that it was a party line. And party line meant that someone else was using that line or was able to use that line. It was a matter of thrift and saving money. And so if you're going to make a phone call and you picked up the phone and someone was talking, well, that meant the party line was being used. So you hung it up and you had to sit there and wait patiently until Mrs. Brown or whoever it was got off the phone. And it was just one of those things you put up with, yes. But basically it was posters and
Word of mouth, just word of
yeah,
mouth.
sending notes. Yeah.
All right, I want to thank you for your time and also an invitation. I'm going to get back to an email because we're celebrating our 100 years next year. And I'd love for you to write just a little letter, a little note that we can include in our 100th edition of the Glenbard newspaper. I think that'd be neat.
Oh, I would love to do that. Just
Okay,
have a deadline for that.
Valentine's Day.
Okay.
We
Sounds
have
good.
months.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
wonderful. I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Dini.
so much. Thank you. It was wonderful being a part of your class.
What a pleasure. All right, we'll meet soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All
Bye-bye.
right, bye.